$9.99 again
with Kyle.
Today we will be doing a overview of a cheap build that we're doing. So as you can see, here's our motherboard. It's an ASRock 960 GM slash U3S3FX motherboard. This will support AMD FX 8-core processors, AMD Sempron, AMD Athlon, and just a bunch of AMD
it's
motherboards.
AM3 Plus and AM3 socket, so
right.
Any processor with that on it will fit.
It's a micro ATX size, which is what we need. So yeah, let's go ahead and open it up and see what we get inside. So first we get inside the ASRock manual and a CD for drivers. We get two SATA cords. I don't know why one of them is red and one is black. It's kind of weird.
And it's a blue theme motherboard.
I know, that's weird. Here's the I/O shield.
Very generic looking, but works.
You know, it's a $55 motherboard, so you're not gonna expect much. Here's the motherboard itself. It looks actually pretty nice for the price. Let's go ahead and open this up. See what we get inside. I've never actually seen this on a motherboard. It has foam on the bottom to protect the pins, so that's pretty nice.
On the ones we bought for our gaming computer, that did not, and they are actually more expensive.
Oh, quite a bit more. They're a couple $100. Not a couple hundred, but like 120.
Yeah.
So as you can see, here's the motherboard. It has two RAM slots. It has the 24 connector, an IDE connector, some SATA ports, and you might wonder what these big heat sinks are. Well, it has built-in AMD Radeon 3000 graphics, which isn't, you know, that much, but for an everyday computer, it's decent. Got some ports on the back. It has a couple USB 2.0s, a couple USB 3s, DVI, VGA. It does not have HDMI, which is too bad, but it is a pretty cheap motherboard, so get what you pay for.
So for $55, though, this motherboard is worth it, I think.
Yep. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the processor we're going to be installing in this. We're going to be installing the AMD Sempron 145. Now this is a single core processor running at 2.8 gigahertz with 1 megabyte of cache. So, I mean...
you can unlock a second core, though, and for a $20 processor, it's pretty good.
Yeah, currently in Micro Center, it's only $20. Now, other places, it's not going to be that cheap.
Usually $40.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a pretty good deal. Yeah.
See, now we're unboxing the processor. Comes with the regular stock AMD cooler. Some user manuals here. We don't need those. You might want to take a look at them if this is the first build you're doing. But
there's a heat
otherwise,
sink.
no. Yeah, this is the heatsink. Usually this is the one that comes with it. I'm going to put it back in here so I don't mess up the thermal paste.
Yep.
And we don't really need to talk about that. Now here's the main part. Here's the processor. You get a little case badge with that, which I guess is nice to show off that you bought a $20 processor.
Single core.
Why not? There you go. I'm not going to take it out of the plastic because I don't want to damage the delicate pins that are on the back.
Yep.
But other than that, that's the basic look at your processor.
Okay, now let's go ahead and take a look at
the RAM. It's one 2 gigabyte stick, which... And by the way, guys, just a disclaimer, don't expect very good performance out of this computer. This computer is for people who like just to do normal things, surf the internet, small internet games like that. So do not build this if you want a high-performance gaming computer, please.
Now, also...
Here's the actual stick right here.
It's, like 2 gigs, like we just said, at 1333 speed.
Which isn't actually that low. That's pretty common.
This RAM was only $23 at Micro Center.
So this is actually a very good deal. This is...
Yeah. If you're wondering, we purchased everything right here at Micro Center,
where we usually purchase all our computer parts and stuff. So
yep. And another disclaimer is this computer is actually very upgradable. This little motherboard, this thing can support an FX 8-core processor, supports 16 gigs of RAM. I mean, it's pretty upgradable for the price. I mean, if you're looking for something affordable, this is it.
And you can always upgrade later. So here's the actual stick in my hand. Very low profile, doesn't have a fancy heatsink like gaming RAM, but...
Yeah, it's made by Crucial. This is just standard Crucial RAM. If you go with the Crucial Ballistic Sport like I have in my gaming computer, it will have a fancy heatsink on it to help cool it, but it's still low profile, which is nice. But yeah, that's basically just the RAM. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to the power supply.
Now we're unboxing the power supply.
Now as you can see, this is a very cheap power supply. It's a 400 watt Diablo Tech power supply for $15.
They also make cases and stuff, so it's not that off-brand, you know.
Yeah.
Though not many people have heard of it.
No. Let's go ahead and take a look at it and see what it looks like. So, I mean, let's see. Here's the power cord. Doesn't feel that bad. I mean, it doesn't feel very cheap. I mean, wow, that's way lighter than I thought, actually. Doesn't weigh much.
Yeah.
It's got some plastic over it.
Installing the RAM, very simple process to just make sure this slot is lined up with this little pointy thing on the motherboard, and make sure you're installing it into the right slot because it does matter.
Yes, it marks on the motherboard, and if you cannot see it on the motherboard or your motherboard does not have it marked, refer to your motherboard manual. Now
press down firmly
till it clicks into place.
You actually have to press harder than you would think, so don't be scared to press it down pretty hard.
Now, once it's into place, it should feel pretty stable.
It shouldn't move around at all, and it shouldn't be that hard to force it in.
Right, and if you have to, like, really push down, you're probably doing something wrong.
Yes.
Also, quick note to remember is that, as you notice, we have the motherboard placed on top of the motherboard box, and this is what I would definitely recommend when doing a build.
And I would always recommend building it outside of the case, even though we actually didn't do that for our first builds.
Yes. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put in the
processor. A much simpler process than you might think.
Now we're going to go ahead and show you how to install it. First, push down on this little bracket, move it over, and just lift it all the way up. Now, don't press any force, because no force is required.
Now you want to take the processor, obviously, before the cooler.
Right. Now be very careful not to touch the bottom, just touch by the sides.
Make sure that the arrow is lined up with the plastic arrow on the motherboard.
As you can see, there's an arrow, and if you look on the motherboard, there should be an arrow right there in that corner, very, very tiny. And simply place the processor, just drop it into place, don't put any force.
Do not even push it.
Nope, push down on the bar and lock it, and you can wiggle it around to make sure it's secure. Now that the processor is in place, but there is no force required. Now we're going
to be installing the stock AMD cooler. First, what I'd recommend doing is plugging the actual fan in so the cable's out of your way. Yeah, that's correct. There we go.
Now make sure when you plug in your cable, you plug it into the spot that's labeled CPU fan 1. Because if you plug it into a stock fan header on your motherboard, it will not function properly. So guys, sorry, we filmed that incorrectly and we didn't know, but basically
we kind of messed up. So all you have to do is place the cooler, down on top of the processor.
Put the clip on this side first.
Now, if you see these two metal things, it'll come with a little clip on each side. Just hook it to that and lock down this switch. It's pretty self-explanatory. You should get it on your first try.
And once it's on, you should be able to lift the motherboard up with it.
Yes.
And, yeah, that's basically how to install a RAM, processor, and heatsink on a motherboard. I should be doing a video about this computer once I get it completed. I hope you guys like this video. Please comment,
rate,
and subscribe.
See you guys later.